class number 3 on golden doves and silver dots. I'm on page Roman numeral 11, the first page of the introduction. And it's the second full paragraph. Like many studies in Judaism, this work too must be interdisciplinary. Alright, so it's really important to understand that every culture has its own code, and the cultural code of a particular culture cannot necessarily be reduced to the cultural code of another culture. So for example, Greek culture is based upon geometric thinking, and together with Greek culture you have a philosophy which represents, or rather which is a derivative of geometrical thinking. You can't understand the Hindu culture in the same manner. They have a different language, they have a different syntax, they have a different value system. They think differently. So in order to understand Hinduism, you can't just reduce it to Greek thinking, right? An egg cannot be reduced to an orange, any more than an orange cannot be reduced to a chair. So now, if we're going to study about Judaism, by its nature, it has to be an interdisciplinary study. We need to be able to, again, think of that cubist painting. So you're looking at the same object from different perspectives. From the perspective, in the case of the object, from the right, from up, from down, from in back, that's cubism. If you want to understand Judaism, and we're going to try to articulate it in this book, well, you have to look at it from different perspectives. So you have to look at the poetry of Judaism, the language of Judaism, the legal thinking of Judaism, and many others, the philosophy of Judaism, to the extent that there even is a philosophy in the classical sense, right? So this is all of us trying to, look at an object, understand the object by looking at it from different perspectives, right? So that's why interdisciplinary, like a cubist painting. So, like many studies in Judaism, this work too must be interdisciplinary, because our academic divisions do not always fit the Jewish subject at hand. The Jewish scholar may have to cross the boundaries assigned to those disciplines in Western scholarship. That's important. So I'll give you an example of an academic division not fitting the Jewish subject at hand. So I want to understand the Moreh Nevuchim in terms of philosophy. Well, here's some news. We can use the word philosophy, but the Moreh Nevuchim is not a philosophical work, because the whole idea of philosophy is completely foreign to Jewish thinking. Jewish thinking emphasizes text. Jewish thinking emphasizes language. And the book, at the heart of Jewish thinking, is the book. All knowledge derives from the book. In philosophy, you have these ideas which are divorced from the book. Rather, there is the truth. And the point of the philosopher is to discover the truth. There is no the book, right? Writing is actually an anathema to Greek philosophical thinking, whereas in Jewish philosophical thinking, writing is at the very heart and at the very essence of Jewish philosophical thinking. So we use the word philosophy. Well, philosophy, the word philosophy actually does more to hinder our understanding of Judaism than to help it, right? So I'm going to read that sentence again. So because our academic divisions, such as philosophy, do not always fit the Jewish subject at hand, the Jewish scholar may have to cross the boundaries assigned to those disciplines in Western scholarship. So if I'm going to study Moreh Nevuchim, I can't just study it in terms of philosophy. I have to study it perhaps in terms of linguistics. That would be useful, right? In terms of textuality, that would be useful. In terms of perhaps structuralism and the structure of language and how language works, that would be useful, right? Moritz Steinschneider, a leading Jewish scholar of modern times, recognized the interdisciplinary character peculiar to Jewish studies, because Judaism is a unique system of thought. Judaism is a unique language. Judaism is a unique nation, right? The history of Judaism is completely unique, right? Judaism is not even a religion. I mean, not in the formal sense. There's, what we would call religious aspects to Judaism. And even when we say that there's religious aspects to Judaism, that itself is false. Because religion is never based upon law, a legal system. Religious is based upon the numinos, a particular feeling and a particular attitude towards that feeling and what to do with that feeling. Okay? So all examples of how the categories that we're used to using in Western thought are foreign to Jewish thought, and they hinder Jewish thought. Again, you're looking at a particular object, from different perspectives, from different angles, and only in that way can you try to begin to triangulate and come close to the truth. When presenting his views, Salo Baron, whose writings I really love, he did such an amazing work, especially on Sephardic history. It's simply, at least from my perspective, from my humble perspective, and it is a humble one, but I love his works. So there's just their breadth and scope of his works is just phenomenal on Sephardic history. The sources he brings and the understanding he had. But again, I'm not, it's not a, I'm just expressing my own personal, very small and humble opinion. Anyway, Salabaron wrote, the understanding of the Jewish past required arduous study of the various disciplines and countries. Why is that so? So let's say I want to try to understand the thinking of the rabbis in northern Spain, in Catalonia. I can't understand the thinking of the rabbis of Catalonia unless I understand the Christian environment in which they were. When you understand the Christian environment, then you understand a lot of the intellectual attitudes of that Christian environment. You begin to understand some of the attitudes of the rabbis who were in northern Spain. Let's now go to southern Andalusia. You want to really understand Harambam and the Geonim, you need to understand at some level the writings of El-Farabi, Ibn Sina, and others, not because Harambam is based upon them. No, he's not. But Harambam is reacting to them. So when you understand the geography of the country, the language, the culture to which Harambam was reacting to, then you can understand the writings of Harambam more clearly, and that's the point of the Salavaron. Point well taken. In the present work, the converging of linguistics. Okay, so that was Salavaron. Interdisciplinary study of Judaism. That's great, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We need now to go to a deeper understanding. And now here's a deeper understanding. In the present work, the converging of linguistics, the study of language. The study of language is so essential to understanding Torah and Chokhmah of Hakmei Gemara. Critical theory. How does one analyze text? And rabbinics. Those three things are going to converge in this work. And this is so important because this work is not going to be based upon a philosophy of Judaism. The very notion of a philosophy of Judaism is antithetical to Judaism because Judaism doesn't have philosophy. Judaism emphasizes texts. And what's great about this book is that it does exactly that. It brings rabbinic thinking in terms of critical theory, how to analyze texts, because that's at the heart of rabbinic thinking, and it is at the heart of Judaism. So that's what this book does. Again, the convergence of linguistics, language. How does Hashem communicate to us? Through language. What did Hashem give us? A written text, the Torah, critical theory. And what do we have with the Torah? The Torah Shabbat, rabbinic. So you see how you have the convergence of those three things? And how that can give you an understanding of Judaism. some justification is warranted for such a change. My father is saying that there is some justification for this change, meaning what he's going to do in this book, which is not just to have an interdisciplinary study of Judaism, but rather to converge rabbinics, critical theory, and linguistics. I gave that justification, but now my father will elaborate a bit more. Ever since 1819, Jewish scholarship has been dominated by the movement known as Wissenschaft des Judentum, or the scientific study of Judaism. You like that? The scientific study. The scientific study of Judaism. I have water in this cup. I can study scientifically this water. I can look at the temperature of the water. I can look at the quantity of water in this cup. I can look at the viscosity of the water. I can look at the chemical composition of the water. It could possibly be broken down to molecules of water, and then those molecules can be broken down to atoms. Okay. As it turns out, quantum mechanics teaches us that it's not so simple. What is the position of any particular atom, electron? Right? Not so simple. The objective world. We have the scientific study of water, but nevertheless, at the macro level, we can have a scientific study of water. Can you have a scientific study of people, of nations, of history? Is this what people are to be reduced to? So the Wissenschaft des Judentum says, yes, people are to be reduced to something that became subject to particular measurements and particular quantities, albeit within whatever they consider to be the measurements and quantities. That's a scientific study of Judaism, from which, by the way, the biblical critics who attempt to, embarrassingly, from an intellectual perspective, attempt to attack the Torah, embarrassingly, do it because every archaeological discovery always disproves anything these biblical critics said. I mean, it is just, well, I'm not going to get into that now. That's a subject for a different class. I just can't just mention the word biblical critics without noting what an inferior intellect, what an inferior mind would actually take biblical criticism seriously. But it's not surprising because biblical criticism came and started with the scientific study of Judaism. What a beautiful title. And what an ignorant academic environment could have possibly created that monstrosity, and we're going to discuss it now. The basic premise of this school was a belief in the objective study of the humanities. Yes, we can study people objectively. There are objective criteria. So there's the objective measurement of this water. What is the temperature of this water? And I will understand what the water is about, and what are the positions of the molecules, and how are the molecules connected together, and so on and so forth. And you can do that to nations, right? Following German historiography. Okay, let me